I'm delighted to be here on behalf of the Scottish Government as your Cabinet Secretary for Culture. Congratulations on the work so far, but I'm here to announce £246,000 from Historic Scotland to help stabilise the building here, to make sure that you have the foundations that you need to take your project forward, to ensure that here in the heart of Dumfries we can celebrate, yes, the heritage of BARRIE, but also to have the prospect of a real centre for literature that could, I think, capture and ignite the imagination, just as BARRIE did so many years ago. So I'm very pleased to be here to make this announcement. I look forward to seeing what the prospects are, but I hope that over £250,000 worth of investment will give you some cheer and some support, and for your supporters to go forward on what I think will be a challenging, but I think a very rewarding project. So thank you very much.
On behalf of the Trust, I thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much indeed for the grant that we're going to receive. We're most grateful. We are very proud of what we've done so far. We've got a small team of very dedicated people, which is getting bigger by the minute. And so we are grateful to all of those that have got the project as far as it has. And now, with help from various people, we're trying to raise £750,000 to get the building safe and watertight. So anyway, I thank you, ma'am, for coming, and thank you so much for your generosity.
Roger's going to see us on me again.
Fiona Hyslop, Cabinet Secretary for Culture in the Scottish Government.
Just tell us what you're doing here today.
Well, I'm here at Moat Brae in Dumfries to announce £246,000 of over £250,000 investment to help support stabilise Moat Brae, to help the project to bring alive Children's Literature Centre and the restoration of this wonderful building, but also to tell the story of BARRIE and his inspiration here to help develop that wonderful story of Peter Pan, one of the best loved stories for children. So I'm delighted that we can be part of that and to have that first step in laying the foundations for the project's investment.
What do you think it will mean for the town if the building is restored?
Well, the Scottish Government is quite clear that culture and tourism are very much part of regeneration and support of the local economy, and Dumfries, I think, could certainly do with that kind of focus of this that this centre can bring. It's got wonderful heritage with Robert Burns and his heritage too, but I think there's a lot to be said for making sure that we always look for new opportunities. So I think this is an ideal project for Dumfries to help promote that cultural tourism that's very much part and parcel of Dumfries and Galloway.
And you've given about £250,000, or pledged £250,000. Still got a long way to go to make that £4 million target. Do you think they can do it?
Well, I think that when there's a will, there's a way. I think there's a dynamic board and trust here. I think the project idea is very sound, but I think that a lot of people will have to get behind them. And I hope with our signal from the Scottish Government of the investment and support for the stabilisation of the building, that will give them a good platform for fundraising going ahead.
What you see is that.
Which is nice, and they're actually not rooms.
Alan Patterson, one of the trustees of the Moat Brae Peter Pan Trust.
Just explain to us what it's going to mean if you get your funding, you're able to restore the building and the gardens. What's it going to mean for the town?
I think it's, to begin with, one of the most significant houses in the town, a wonderful early 19th century, therefore Georgian townhouse, designed by Walter Muir, who was the most famous Dumfries architect. And it's in the middle, of course, of Dumfries' new town, or like Edinburgh's new town, on a smaller scale. This is amazing because here it's on the bank of the Nith, and as you know, you can see the view, which I can't because I've got my back to it. The view across the river, across the water meadows to the hills of Galloway is absolutely unchanged since BARRIE played here all those years ago. And it was in this garden where we're standing now that the genesis, saying earlier, of the Peter Pan story really existed, really began.
And what about, there's plans to turn it into a literary centre?
Yes, well, I mean, the obvious answer when looking to raise funding and raise awareness about the restoration of the building is not just to make it vertical again and watertight and all of that sort of thing. It's got to have a real working role, and because of the literary connections, the obvious thing was to consider how those literary connections might show in the restored building. And so the idea came quite clearly to us that a centre for children's literature, which doesn't exist in Scotland at all, would be a logical thing to do. There's a very fine one, as you probably know yourself, in Newcastle, where I think you yourself used to work, 7 stories, and it will be modelling on that. And I think the need for children's literature, of course, has never been greater, and the need for literacy. And the suggestion has even been made, of course, that once the centre is up and running, adult literacy could also be considered here. So that'll be the main reason for the place, the raison d'etre for the place, but there will also be restored beautiful Georgian rooms for letting, because the place has got to run its keep. We hope there'll be residences for artists and writers. The garden itself, where we're standing now, will be laid out in a form, really, of a small botanic garden. Botanic gardens, as you know, are places where science and the arts and public community are all working together for the benefit of visitors and based upon the world of plants. And this is what we're starting to do now. There'll be collections of different species, different genera, those that are relevant particularly to Dumfries in southwest Scotland. And we've come a long way with no money, virtually no money, in getting the place where we're standing even possible. A year ago I wouldn't have been able to see you a yard away because we've been in a jungle of laurel scrub, just as there is over there at the moment, which we hope to move into shortly. The garden has lost quite a lot of its original ground, but there's still a considerable amount of it.
And just finally, what is this pledge of £250,000 from the Scottish Government? What does it mean to?
It means 2 things. I think one, that there is confidence that the project is worth doing and it's offering things for southwest Scotland and Dumfries in particular that won't happen elsewhere. And it also means that it will encourage other people to donate in a way that so far some have done, but many more will now do so. It's a launch pad, and it's a very exciting one.
Good.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
Thank you.